magic. We're going to do some magic tricks tonight, which is telling you how you can build a startup company with as few resources as possible and to maximize profits, hopefully change the world on your way. I'm Scott Fox. We're here tonight taking questions and practicing investor pitches with people from all over the world as a free service of the Startup Council. I'm the CEO of the Startup Council. We are at startupcouncil.org. We're a worldwide community service group supporting early stage founders, especially in high growth ventures, those that are looking to raise venture capital or money from angel investors. If you go to startupcouncil.org, you can join us, and we have all kinds of services that are just launching that can help you publicize your startup, find investors, promote the services that you're looking for, find partners. We even have advertising for co-founders, things like that. All the little pieces that I wished I'd had when I was the first-time founder, we've tried to build them for you at startupcouncil.org. So thanks for joining me. We're going to be here for an hour or maybe an hour and a half, taking questions and practicing pitches, like I said, with people from all over the world. We've got a half dozen people backstage already, and if you'd like to join us and invite your friends, that would be great. We're here as a free service to try to help everybody, accelerate everybody in the ecosystem to raise more money faster, to change the world to be a better place. Why? Well, because the politicians aren't going to do it. It's up to you and me, right? Entrepreneurs are the most positive force for progress in the world today. We are bold, we think big, and we're willing to work to make it happen. So the secret story is there isn't really that much magic in startup land. It's a lot of hard work. But tonight, I'll give you as many tips and tricks as I can based on my 25 plus years of raising money, building companies. And these days, I'm actually mostly an angel investor. So I spend a lot of time evaluating pitches. And tonight, we're going to do some of that as pitch practice for all of you to help give you some free feedback from a person like me who's heard hundreds, maybe thousands of pitches at this point. If we haven't met before, I appreciate you joining us. I'd love to have you invite your friends. Come and join. Tell your friends right now and give us some likes and some thumbs up and all that stuff, because it really does drive the algorithm and help us reach more people. That's really what we're about here at Startup Council, is to help more people find their own piece of the digital revolution. Things are changing perhaps faster ever before, maybe even. Well, my first company was back in the internet web 1.0, and we thought things were moving fast then. But now with AI, things are moving even faster. So tonight we'll help you untangle some of that and figure out how you can get your company, your team moving forward, raising some money and growing to solve the problems that customers want to pay you to solve. So if we haven't met before, like I said, I'm a serial internet entrepreneur. I'm an angel investor. I run several angel groups, and I speak all over the world about startup ecosystems and angel investing and helping people learn how to raise money. The books you can see over my shoulder here, I wrote these. These three here in the middle are in English. The rest are all foreign translations. So you can see Japanese and Turkish and Russian and Vietnamese and Polish and all kinds of languages. And I'm working on a new one, which is about how to raise startup money for your startup. So watch for that coming hopefully in the next, probably in the spring. So let's get on with it. And I have to give you a couple quick disclaimers. You're in the right place if all that sounds like fun. But let me point out, this is not qualified legal or professional advice. I'm just some guy you met on the internet, and I'm doing my best to help. But you should take this advice as worth what you paid for it, which is Zippo. So do be careful and confirm everything with your own professional legal or tax or other intellectual property counsel and experts who are more familiar with your personal situation. Also, this session is being recorded, so anything that you say will be recorded and shared online worldwide. So participating here grants us the right to share that, and please just don't say anything dumb, because we will try to share the expertise that's shared here today worldwide. And if you don't want that included, then don't participate, I guess, is the short answer. So speaking of that, I'm going to be turning on the chat room here in just a minute. So let's have everybody join us. And if you have a participation, and of course, if you have a question, would love to have you chime in. And even more important is that this is a peer-to-peer opportunity. I don't have all the answers. I'm just kind of convening the meeting so that all of you can participate as well. And you can participate if you wrote in early and you RSVP'd, like the several people who are backstage already. And we're going to bring them on in a minute to see what they want to talk about. But also the rest of you can participate in the chat room, both on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you comment on any of those, then your comments will show up here, right here. and I'll respond to those as best I can. But even more importantly, you can help each other. So like I said, I just called the meeting together. So you're welcome to put your LinkedIn, for example, in there, or your YouTube channel, or your new product, your website, whatever it is that you're promoting. Go ahead. And even more, please try to help each other. People are going to come on with questions. And like I said, I don't have all the answers. I've got plenty, and I'm a good talker, but I'm not going to fill in all the blanks. And a lot of you certainly together have a lot of expertise on anything that's going to be raised tonight. So I would appreciate your help. Please go and chime into the chat room and let us know what you think about the different things that are going on. Now, so far, it looks like, can you hear me there in the chat room? And I don't see anybody here from LinkedIn yet. Are we having trouble with LinkedIn tonight? That kind of happens sometimes. So if you're on LinkedIn, could you please comment and give us a like or something so I can see that that's working. So far, and please tell me where you're from, actually, like IntelliGauge. Johnny from Anaheim, California. That's near me. I'm in Southern California. Hi, Johnny. And then Ishi and Carl and Chad. Where are you guys from? Love to have you guys chime in and let us know where you're from as well. And there's Steven from Royal Meats. Cool. Nice to meet you all. So far, it looks like it's all guys. So let's get some ladies in here too, because that's one of the beauties of the internet and digital media is that anybody can play. So I'd love to have the rest of you participate as well. Still not seeing anybody from LinkedIn. So hi, Matar, where are you from? Fill in the blanks here for me, guys. And let's see. David, okay, there we go. That looks like LinkedIn. David, it looks like you're on LinkedIn. I hope that's right. And Steven's in Costa Mesa. So we got a couple folks local. And San Diego. Hi, Rachel. The Philippines. Excellent. All right. This is a global medium. There we go. And Joseph from Fremont. That's California. And Siba from LinkedIn. Good. Catherine from Vancouver. And Chad's in Mission Viejo. And Taylor is in Las Vegas, Los Angeles. And Eileen from Cape Town. Hey, Eileen. Nice to meet you. I haven't been there yet. And another San Diego. All right, good. All right, we have a nice global crowd. Italy. Hey, Matar, nice to meet you. Don't have anybody from India yet, which is kind of surprising. I do these at evening now in Southern California so that we can help people from Australia and the Philippines and India and Malaysia and Indonesia and the Middle East. So hopefully those folks will be showing up as well. All right, so that's kind of what we're going to do. Let me see. I think that's about all I've got to do to start with. And we've got a bunch of people backstage. So folks backstage, I'm going to have you all come on. And the idea is to have you just tell me really quickly what it is you want to talk about. Like just the 10-second version. Okay, this is not the time to practice the pitch. We'll get to that. But I just want to see who's here. And I'll write down what each of you want to speak about. And then we'll try to cobble that together to create a flow that will be interesting for everybody else to listen to. All right. Oh, there's India's checking in. Hey, Lily from Huntington Beach, and Siba from Bangalore, and Gaurav from India also. Excellent. Okay, and those are some LinkedIn people as well. All right. Looks like we're all systems go. Excellent. Okay, so backstage folks, which looks like Daniel and Shaun, Leo and Niusha. You need to turn on your cameras if you want to play with us, please. And I'll bring the rest of you on in just a second. And Payush also on YouTube. All right, Leo and Niusha, hope you're going to join us here. Let's see. Yep, I can't turn that on for you. So otherwise, Leo and Niusha, you're going to miss your chance here. So come on in and join us if you can. And let's see. You know what? Let me put up the, if some of the rest of you want to join in real quick. IntelliGauge, yes, you can post your products, descriptions, and links here. Go ahead. Yeah, this is a free space, and please go ahead and join us. Like and subscribe as well, blah, 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 always. But what I was looking for my YouTube, my LinkedIn link. Here we go. Yeah, come on over here and say hi. And if you do reach out on LinkedIn, I'd love to hear from you. I get a little overwhelmed there, though, so please tell me that you attended here, and then we'll be sure to accept your connection. And hopefully we'll see you as a regular attendee at these sessions. All right, so let's go to, and this is our main thing, right? The Startup Council, please come and join us. This is a whole new thing we've launched. It's a whole new platform, and it's all for you guys. I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk more about that in a second. Okay, last call, Leo and Niusha. Looks like you guys are not going to be joining us unless you turn on your cameras, but I wanted to turn on the invite link for some other folks in case we want to get some other folks back here. So I think that will do it. And then I can put it in here. All right. So here is there. Hopefully the rest of you. There you go. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can click on that. That's going to be a pain to type, but you can try, and that will get more of us backstage. Okay. So, all right, there, Niusha turned on her camera. Okay, so I'm going to Daniel and Shaun, Leo, you're welcome, and Niusha, come and join me. Hi, guys. Nice to meet each of you.
Hey,
Nice to see you again, man.
All right, you guys can hear me. That sounds like good. Let me turn up my volume. I'm doing all the talking here. All right, so you guys can hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, nice to meet you, all of you. Well, Shaun, I've seen you before, and Daniel too, right? So
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, nice to see you guys. So give me like I said, if you could, just give me the 10-second version of what you'd like to talk about so I can put them in order, and then we'll start taking some questions and we'll work our way through them together. All right. So who wants to go first?
Can I go?
Sure. Go ahead, Niusha.
I'm from B2B Mineral. It's a platform for connecting miners and mineral trading sector.
Right. Okay. Right. And you wrote in, didn't you? Okay. I saw that one. Thank you. From Dubai. Okay. Good.
Yes.
And you want to practice your pitch, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So hang on. And then Shaun, nice to see you again. What's on your mind this time? I think you wrote in too, right?
Yeah. I have two questions. One is I attended a meeting in Boston, some startup group, and they had mentioned sort of drying up of venture capital because of a lack of IPO. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about how the ecosystem works, where funding comes from and how exits work.
Sure.
Second question would be, what's your opinion about some of these platforms that are servicing founders, stuff like Gust or some of these like expense management or FP&A platforms? Some of these guys, all these guys that are peddling what I feel are kind of like selling a dream. What do you think about those platforms?
Okay, great. We can definitely talk through those. And thank you also for writing in early so I could think about that a little bit. Okay, and then Daniel, you're back with your sports thing is still going, huh?
Yes, sir. I'm hosting the first Square Boss tournament on December 6th, but I just need I want to learn some feedback from you. How would you start a new business in today's, generation? All of that, anything that you can give me, I would really appreciate it. Any like advice, maybe people I can go to and talk to would be amazing to make this new sport great.
Okay, good. Well, nice to see all three of you. And Leo, last chance, if you want to join us, you can turn on your camera and we'll add you to the list. Other than that, okay, so let me look at that. So we've got 2 pitches and some questions. So why don't we, let's see. Well, why don't we jump right into a pitch? Daniel, you've done this before. Why don't you do your pitch and then we'll do some questions. Except that, let's see, I'm trying to think of the time zones. Niusha, what time is it where you are?
I'm in Dubai.
Yeah. So what time is it? It's like noon. Uh-oh, we lost her. All right. Well, I guess you won't go first then. Okay. Now you should try again, and we'll bring you on when you reconnect. All right. So that's one, and then Shaun. So Daniel, why don't you, Shaun? We'll get back to you, and Daniel, you and I have done this before, so welcome back.
Thank you.
And great to see you still at it. All right, let me tell everybody else though how this works. So we generally do a minute or 2 pitch. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes, but it shouldn't be any more than that. And yes, that's a really artificial amount, but the idea is just to practice, right? Nobody's writing checks tonight. We're just going to try to give everybody a chance to spit it out and see what they can do. And it takes practice. So even 2 minutes can feel like a long time if you haven't practiced, or it can be so short that you don't get anything communicated. So practice is the idea here that we all want to share. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock and just on a timer. And let me do that. And then there's 2 jobs here. So Daniel obviously is going to pitch, right? He's going to tell us about his company, which is Square Boss. And then the rest of us, your job, which includes me, is to listen to him and think of things that he could improve. right? So we're going to try to give him feedback, and not everybody can come on camera and do that. So I'll talk a little bit, but we'd love your feedback in the chat room. And you can say things like, you talk too fast, or you left out this, or I think more about this would be helpful. I mean, everybody has an opinion, and I'm not the only expert on this call, right? A lot of you guys have lots of experience, and I'd love to hear from you, and that would be helpful to Daniel and to Niusha and everybody who pitches tonight. Okay, so that's how it works. So Daniel is going to be our lead off hitter tonight, and go ahead and start whenever you're ready, Daniel.
Got it. Thank you so much, Scott. Squareballs is a new sport inspired by soccer. It's designed to help soccer players to improve their skills with the ball and also precision. What's the thing here is that I was doing some research, and I found out that only 1% of the college soccer players, people that are training super hard to get to the professional level, only 1% are going to get to a professional level. What's going to happen to the 99%? So we have here a huge problem that, yes, some people have tried to solve with creating other sports like CrossNet, Tech Ball. They have raised some money. I love the job that they're doing. But these sports are just designed to sell you a product, right? I want to focus with a Squareballs in the event side of this sport. And this sport can go up to 512 people playing. So imagine this, 512 players, all their families paying to see their kids, of course, play the game. And also the winners, since it's such a competitive sport, right? The winner gets a huge amount of money. That's the idea of this sport, that we can bring and give opportunity to these 99% of soccer players that end up with the broken dream of becoming a professional soccer player, which is sad. Why am I saying this? Because that's me. I worked so hard to be a professional soccer player, but I didn't know I was fighting against these statistics. So how can we solve this? I came out with this idea, which is a sport that I used to play in Colombia, and I found out there's nothing about it on the internet. So I made a way to commercialize it, and that's why I'm having the first Squareballs tournament on December 6th in Covina, California. So that's it, Scott. Any feedback? Well, I would really appreciate it, man. I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Oh, well, you were right on time. Like that was, I don't know if you rehearsed that, but that was exactly 2 minutes. So nicely done. That's hard to do. Okay, so this is our chance, everybody, including me, but especially you, if you're listening and watching, to give Daniel some feedback. What did you think of that? Did that make sense? Does that sound like a real business? If, try to put on your investor hat. Like, what did he not say that he should have? Like, again, 2 minutes is hard, so you can't cover everything. But what are the priorities, and did he cover those things, and what could he do better? Because that's why everybody's here. We're all here together, and that's why we're entrepreneurs. That's the magic I was talking about at the top of the show, is that we're all trying to improve ourselves, right? So that's the fun thing. Okay, so my feedback would be, first of all, very nice. I think you did a great job. You're very personable. You're obviously enthusiastic about this, which is super important. Having, investors, we take our cues from you. So if you come up and say, mar, 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 you don't look at them, you read off your note cards or your slides, why would we be excited if you're not? And you are excited. So that's great, right? That's an instant credibility builder. And you have a great smile. You're working the smile. That's good. You're friendly. And you look like a soccer player. Like this, you can tell this is something that you believe in. And that is really important. The metaphor in the investing world a lot of times is, the question is, do you bet on the horse or the jockey? And the horse is like the company, right? And of course, both are important. Just like in a horse race, you need a horse and a jockey. But the jockey is really important at the earliest stages, because that's the person who's going to ride the horse and lead the horse. And in this case, even build the horse. And you have that kind of charisma. I think that's good, right? So what could you do better? Well, I wasn't quite clear, and people in the chat room are agreeing. George says, good job. And Cypher says, Cypher's excited about a new sport. And me too. I don't quite understand, and you don't have to answer me now because we don't have time to get into it, but 512 players, if that's all at once, then you should really emphasize that. Or is it like a league, 512 people in a league, and then there's some kind of brackets and they all get to play 27 different games. I'm not clear. So if it's 512 at once, I don't know how you do that. So I would like to hear more. And that's really the point of this kind of pitch. So maybe it's okay. It's obvious to you what you meant, but it wasn't to me. And the idea is that when you do a pitch like this for everybody, nobody gets a check on the first discussion, right? It's to get the investors interested enough to ask more. So maybe you're hiding the ball there, no pun intended, on purpose because you want me to ask. But I'm still intrigued, right? And even Cypher is commenting, 512 players. Wow, like we don't quite get it. So you'll need a stadium, like Taylor says. Yeah. So that's one thing. That's a small one. The bigger piece is that you didn't talk anything about the money until the last. You used the word commercialization at the end. The only time you talked about money earlier was criticizing other businesses that sell a lot of gear and so forth. So that may be what you believe in, and that's cool. I get it. But investors don't want to hear you not interested in the money. That's why we're investing, right? So you gave me a lot of vision, but you didn't give me much business model. In fact, zero. Like, I don't know. Are you charging people? Is this an app? Is it league fees? Are you selling T-shirts? Is it a subscription business? Like, I don't know literally anything. And that's what Payush is saying from India. How did the economics work? Exactly. So this is very common with early stage entrepreneurs. You're so excited about the vision. You want to talk about the big picture. But honestly, we don't care about the big picture unless it makes money. So you got to push those together and trim down the part about the excitement and the vision and tell me who buys this, how often, for how much, and how you're going to grow that. That's the piece that you didn't even address. So great style points, pretty weak on the substance. Now, to be fair, of course, if you'd had another 60 seconds or 90 seconds, that was probably the next thing in your head, but you got to prioritize that because otherwise we tune out. We just think you're a dreamer, and we hear dreamers all the time. So that would be my suggestion. Now, who in the chat room has other questions for him? I'm looking at my notes. I really did like the thing about most people can't make it as a professional player, right? That suggests an underserved market. It would help to have more numbers. For example, how many of those people are there, right? You talked about percentages, but you didn't say there's 1.2 million of these between the ages of 16 and 22 or whatever. I don't know, right? But investors eat numbers. So fill this thing with numbers. What I want to hear as an investor is for you to make the case, not just about the dream, but give me an equation as you're speaking. A plus B plus C plus D makes $1 zillion for you, Miss Investor. And that you're not doing. And I know you can, but that's why you're here, right? To get that kind of feedback.
Yes,
and I'm sure you can do it. So George has a good question. He asked, is this a US based opportunity or international? So that's another good thing. And that's something you didn't do, which is talk about who the target market is. Now I can presume it's young people who like to play soccer, right? But even that's kind of a big market. So are you thinking it's high school? You don't have to answer now, right? But is it high school? Is it college? Is it semi-pro? Is it male or female, or is it, like he said, is it US only, or is it you're going to start like, I don't know, in Mexico or, France? Like, all those questions are interesting, and they will come out in a 10-minute pitch. You'd probably tell me all that, but to get our attention, you need more of those hooks and specifics sooner. All right. So that's one. I thought it was good though. And your enthusiasm is going to carry you a long way. So you got that nailed.
Thank you.
Sure. Nice to see you again. So that's our friend Daniel from Arcadia. We got a lot of Southern California here tonight. Nice to see you again. You had a partner last time, didn't you? Are you guys still working together?
Yes, he had to move to San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
So it's just me right now.
Okay. All right. Well, that happens. Okay. Well, good to see you, Daniel. And we're going to move on to whoever's next here. And thanks to him for sharing his dream. And sounds like fun, right? I'd love to play, especially if it's 500 people at a time. I used to play soccer too. That sounds like a riot. Okay, so next up, let's go to who we got backstage here. Hey, Leo and Carl, and let me just bring Leo. Well, hold on a second. Yeah, sorry, I just want to order this. Get some sense of Carl. Here's Carl, and here's Leo. Hey, Leo, can you turn your camera on again and tell me what you want to talk about? There he is. Okay, cool. And here's our other friends here. I'm just gonna get everybody on camera for a second. I like to do these little photos. We can see everybody There we go. Can we do a group photo? Yay. Everybody smile or wave or something. Awesome. Thank you. That helps our social media promotions. Okay, so Leo and, Leo, why don't you go first? What were your questions or topics tonight?
Well, it's my first time, or can someone else go first, or it just like I know, I was searching you guys.
Okay. No, we just want to know what you want to talk about. You don't have to go right now. Or do you have a question, or do you have a pitch, or why are you here?
I mean, what's the best way to find investors, or like capital, like to attract investors, attract people, like, yeah, I know you need people to trust you, how they're going to invest their money. Even if, they need to have, I mean, how the wealthy people, invest their money beside buying real estate, or they let them the money someone else around them, in return and get money back. They buy properties, they do flips and stuff,
Okay.
and they
That's
do.
good. That's good enough. That's good enough. I'll come back to you. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where to fit you into the show. And how about you, Carl? What's on your mind?
Hey, Scott, thanks for having me. It's my first time to be here. I was wondering if I could share my screen.
No, we don't do that. Unfortunately, it
Okay.
crashes the system.
Why did you right.
share your screen though?
Okay, sure. So here's the thing. I'm alone in all of this.
Hold on. Just give me the 5-second version. I'm just trying to figure out where you go in the show, and then I'll come back to you. What is your question, or did you want to pitch?
Yeah, I wanted to pitch this app that I'm working on, and I'm trying to penetrate the travel booking market,
okay, perfect.
Particularly the lower income class people, because I've checked out all the other apps, Klook, Viator, Booking. What I have in mind is something that they don't do. So I was thinking if I could penetrate that market, but still establish the brand and the app as that identity, then later on penetrate the market as the same travel booking apps, so that it could be understood that we are in that kind of business. For now, I'm alone in all of this. I'm creating the design. I'm creating
Stop. Well, I'll come back to you. I got it. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, we're just trying to get everybody in order. Okay, cool. So, all right. So Carl will be, that sounds like an interesting pitch. I'd like to see that. Okay. All right. So let's go to Shaun, because Shaun, are you still here? Yeah, there he is. Because you had 2 questions. So let's do one of your questions, and then we'll go on and do another pitch. So you wanted to talk about IPOs or accelerators. Well, let's talk about the IPO thing first. Can you rephrase the question for those who are just joining us?
Yep. So I was at a startup conference in Boston a couple of weeks ago, and there was a set of panelists there, and one of them was a VC. And one of the things that she mentioned was that the VC market, the funding that the VCs receive is drying up. That private equity and some of the limited partnerships are having difficulty with their exits. And that's primarily because the IPO market has been kind of dry, with aside from like Figma and a couple of other notables. Yep. All of the big guys are sucking up, right? OpenAI is getting tons of money, and SoftBank's, giving big chunks of money. Nobody's really, exiting enough to put money back into the top of the funnel to let it come down. So I thought it would be interesting if you wanted to give some macro insight into how the funding funnel is. What's a GP? What's an LP? What's a VC? What's private equity got to do with it? And how do IPOs sort of replenish the pool?
You ask good questions. You're obviously an adult. Nicely done. Okay, sure. It sounds like you kind of get it already, but I'll kind of go through it a little bit, and you can raise your hand and fast forward me if you want. But I think a lot of people don't understand even what you're asking, because it's a very helpful question for the crowd.
That's why I thought it would be helpful for you to address it. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so what's interesting about venture capital is that most people don't realize that venture capitalists have to raise money too. There are some who are just wealthy, or angel investors who invest their own money. But anybody that works for a firm, an investment firm, meaning there's a bunch of partners and they have like offices and stuff like that, they have clients as well, and they raise their money. As Shaun just said, those are usually called limited partners. So the general partner and the partners that operate a venture firm are the ones who actually raise a bunch of money themselves. Say they raise, just round numbers, $100 million fund, and then they invest it in maybe 50 companies at $2 million a piece. So their job is finding those 50 companies and doing the due diligence, and they'll talk to 500 or 5,000 of them in order to narrow it down to the best 50, and then they get $2 million each. Just real simple example, right? But where did that $100 million come from? And that's what Shaun's talking about. The $100 million comes from what they call limited partners. And they're limited partners in the legal sense because they're partners in the business, but they're limited because they're not actually involved in the day-to-day operations, and they have less liability legally as well. And who are those limited partners? Well, they tend to be people with lots of money, and even more often, they tend to be institutions. So the limited partners in a big VC firm, like if you're going to have a $100 million fund, are most likely insurance companies or foundations or the endowments of big universities or pension funds, people that have not just millions, but billions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. And their job is to invest it in lots of places and make money to go back into their business, like to pay for life insurance claims or to pay the pensions of the steel workers or things like that. So those are the LPs. And then there might be super rich, ultra high net worth individuals who also can be LPs as well. And they might put in money to be the general partners as well, to be limited partners, sorry. So what does that mean, and why is Shaun asking this? Well, the problem is that that money goes in. Say you put that $100 million to work, and like I said, it might go into 50 companies at $2 million each. And the average life of a lot of, as you guys know, that's why you're here, a lot of startups fold within the first year or two, or certainly 5. But the ones that might make it often take 6, 8, 10 years, sometimes 15, maybe even 20 years to return the money. So if that's the case, the money goes in and it takes a long time to come out. And the main way it comes out is through initial public offerings or IPOs, like you mentioned, or mergers and acquisitions, where another company buys those companies and turns that stock into cash. The problem is lately, the IPO window, meaning the opportunity to take companies public, has really, they say the IPO window is shut. Like there aren't many companies going out, except like Figma, like you mentioned, which had a big successful exit recently, an initial public offering that did really well. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but it's economic uncertainty. Interest rates are too high, they're too low. People just aren't excited about the market. There's a lot of, the tariffs and regulatory changes, and it's the market. Like there isn't any one cause, but for whatever reason, the mood, it's really the vibes. The vibes on Wall Street are that IPOs are not cool right now, and not just in a cool sense, but they're dangerous, right? This is not the time to go out and sell your company to the public, because you won't get as much as you could or should. And then the other, in addition to IPOs, there's mergers and acquisitions. And the mergers and acquisitions were largely shut down during the Biden administration, especially because they had a very strong antitrust enforcement opinion. They didn't want Google buying more companies, for example, or Adobe, or big software companies. They didn't want them buying more and concentrating their power. And you can argue whether that's a good idea or not. But now the Trump administration is perhaps more open to that. So we're starting to see more M&A starting to happen again, which is at least good for those of us who are LPs and venture funds, because it means there'll be more money exiting the system. So again, the 100 million went in, it might take 6, 8, 10, 12 years to come out. And hopefully the 100 million, even though most of those companies didn't survive, the 100 million hopefully has increased a lot. Like it's now 200 million or even $1 billion, because you found a couple Ubers in there, right? The problem is, until the Uber type company can go public or be acquired, that money doesn't come back to the system. So venture capitalists can't raise more money because the limited partners don't have that money. And people like me, we have a lot of our money tied up in startups, and we can't get it out in order to invest it again. So everything Shaun said was true. And the practical impact on pre-seed and seed level companies is that there is less money available because our money is stuck. The word I use is it's constipated. The market is stuck. Like it can't let go and return that money to its investors, hopefully doubled or tripled. And then we can start the cycle again. It's that flywheel that drives Silicon Valley, and it's gotten constipated lately. So there's a quick lecture on that. I don't know if that was more than you wanted, Shaun, or if that was useful, but
yeah,
sure. Other folks out there, and again, people out there probably know as much or more than I do about this stuff. But go ahead and chime in if that didn't make sense, or if you have follow-up questions, and we'll try to address that. So yeah, so that it's a challenge and it is a problem. Like I have a friend right now who's raised super talented woman raising a really cool fund, and she asked me to invest, and I'm like, I'd love to invest, but I got to get some of my money back from these other funds I'm in, right? You got to have it cycle, right? And it's constipation is the word, I think, unfortunately. And for you guys who are here watching the show, then it means it's harder to raise money. So the other piece we haven't talked about, which you also, I'm sure, know, Shaun, but everybody is probably aware of, most of the money that is being invested is going into AI companies. So even if there is a healthy market right now, which there isn't, more than half, probably dramatically more than half of the money that is available for early stage companies is going into artificial intelligence and ignoring what 5 or 10 years ago were seen as big opportunities in SaaS or biotech or other things. Like all the action right now is in AI, and that's hurting the market as well. So reducing the liquidity and reducing the opportunities for early stage founders to raise money. So a little disappointing, but it's a cycle, right? All these things come and go.
Yeah, PitchBook had a report they put out a couple of weeks ago about the segmentation. 85% of the money in the first half of 2025 was AI.
85%. Okay, that's even more than I was thinking. Okay, yeah.
That was PitchBook's survey. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd heard high numbers, but wow, 85. Yeah, and the rounds are bigger too, right? These companies are raising massive.
That's the problem.
Yeah, 8-9 figure rounds that. Imagine how many startups you could fund with the money that OpenAI has raised.
because AI is so compute intensive, and you need data centers and all the inference and everything else. It's sucking all the air out of the room.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So Payush,
unless you're in AI.
Yeah, Payush chimes in and says, "Isn't this money leveraged already, like banks funding against collateral?" Yes, there's lots of variations, but I think that's a fair statement, Payush. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of ways you could do it, and leverage often plays into it for sure. The traditional model isn't quite so leveraged. It's kind of cash for equity, but the more money there is on the table, the more fancy things people do with it. But it's not so much done like what you're thinking, I think, in terms of basic banking, where $100 comes in and their capital reserves by the bank are, say, $10 of that, and they use the other 90 to lend out. VCs put actual cash into those companies. So if a venture capital firm has $100, they do keep probably 2% on average for fees, and they might have other expenses and stuff. So maybe they eat 5% of it, but the other 95 actually usually goes pretty much directly into startups as equity. It might be leveraged in different ways, but the plain vanilla case is not leveraged at that point anyway. So it's a good question. Okay, so that's a little overview on IPOs. Shaun, if you don't mind, I'm going to do another pitch, and we can come back later and talk about your Accelerator stuff, because that's a good question too. And let's see, let me just check the chat room here and see if I'm missing anything. I'm doing a lot of talking here, as I often do. Let me give you a quick plug for Startup Council. We have a whole bunch of free newsletters to help you advance your cause, and we have a bunch of services that can be helpful to you, including different event calendars and discussion forums, and you get your own blog so you can reach investors and publish about your company when you join startupcouncil.org. There's a lot of things going on. And those of you who are watching who haven't yet, come on, and you're welcome to join the party and introduce yourself. And while I'm clicking on things, please come and like and subscribe. That always helps. All right, let's go and see about who was going to be next here. Let's see. Daniel went, Shaun. Shaun has 2 questions, and then travel, Leo, Niusha. Niusha, Niusha, you still around? How about you do your pitch? Does that sound good to you? Let's see if you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
That's
all right.
Perfect.
Yeah, so did you hear how I described to Daniel how we usually do this? About 2 minutes. And just you can kind of say whatever you want, but I'll call you off after 2 minutes or so. And try to focus on the business side of things, not just the vision, if you can. Okay, so I'll start the timer and you go ahead.
So we are B2B Mineral. We are a website basically connecting buyers and sellers in the mineral and mining sector. I don't know how much you're familiar with it. it seems like every step of the way, it's a headache. There is a hardship in every step, and we are trying to make it easier by first establishing trust. There is not much trust in this sector, and you might not believe it, but most of the like this is a 2.8 trillion industry,
Wow.
but people are doing it very old-fashioned. Not much of it is online, and everybody is like just doing business with the people they know, and the connections are just so small. And we are trying to expand that. We are trying our best to establish trust so that both buyers and sellers are verified and they're legit people, so they can trust each other and the process can be so easier. We are trying to do it with cryptocurrency. It's not, we have an MVP, but we are pre-revenue, and basically we are just looking for investors to go from pre-seed to Series A, and to be able to expand this market more. It's an international market, and but right now most of our buyers and sellers are either from UAE or Africa. We are trying to expand that as well. What we are looking for is around 500K investment, and
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of it. But you want to wrap up?
yeah, this is just trying to be more transparent for everyone doing business.
All right. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. And everybody who's listening, go ahead and chime in. Payush has a good question. What was the website again? Is there a website up that people can see?
Yeah, it's b2bmineral.com.
What mineral.com?
B2B.
B2B? B2bmineral.com. Okay, that's a good one.
Yes.
That's a good URL. B2bmineral.com, Payush. Okay, so
Yes.
what do other people think? Did you have suggestions or ways that Niusha can improve things? She'd love to hear it. That's why she's here. That was brave of her to go out and demonstrate her expertise in front of everybody that she doesn't know, including me. So great to hear that. I'll go first, and everybody else can chime in as well, hopefully. So very interesting business. A $2.8 trillion market. Is that right? That's a really large market. So I might lead with that. That's like, wow. That's really eye-opening. The other thing, and I understand, I think, what you're doing. I think just the overall comment is you need to be a lot more specific if you want investors to be interested. So you kind of hinted at a bunch of things, but I didn't hear, the only specific thing I heard was at the end, you're looking for 500K, and you said you were pre-revenue, but I didn't hear how many people you have already, how you're acquiring them, what minerals are being traded. Like, I need specifics, right? So again, it's 2 minutes, so I know this is hard, and I don't know how often you've pitched this, so it's not an easy thing to do. That's why I hold these sessions so people can practice. But in the trust thing, I get it. That totally makes sense. I've built a bunch of marketplaces myself. So I think what would be most interesting is specifics, like I said, and numbers, like I said to Daniel, I guess, a whole bunch of numbers in there so that we can quantify what you're talking about. Because 2.8 trillion is a great place to start. So how are you going to break that down? And then actually, Shaun is hinting at this. I'll get there in a second. I would want to know why you. Like, it's a massive opportunity, and you don't need to answer me now, but why Niusha? Like, do you have some background in this? Do you have a PhD in metallurgy, or you were a big, metals trader or something? I mean, I don't know. Your family owns a mine. There's probably some story here, I'm guessing, because this is a niche, right? Something you've deliberately chosen that is not, you don't hear of very often. And it sounds like you've got a good handle on it. Like, as you mentioned, you already have some clients in Africa and they're in Dubai. Like, it's just happening, right? This isn't just theory. So I need you to kind of like be a little more specific about how you're making money and who's involved and why you and why now. And specifically what Shaun said, what's your moat? Like the defensibility, right? Like who else is doing this and why are you the one to do it? Because I totally hear you about like they're trading like in archaic ways. They're probably using spreadsheets and it's a old boy network and like totally sounds ripe for disruption, and that will get the attention. Like I heard it, like, okay, that sounds like a thing, right? But fill us in on why you, why now, and who else is already trying, you know, and how you're going to beat them so that you can be defensible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for your feedback.
Okay. Yeah. Is that helpful? I hope it's helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the other thing I saw, you were nice enough to, Niusha's one of the ones who wrote in early, so I could think a little bit about it. You mentioned real quickly that this is blockchain based and you're using crypto. So that's something I would address for sure. And even if you only have 2 minutes, because the most common question that investors like me will ask immediately is why, right? Because a lot of what you're saying, and I don't know, right? We just met, right? But why crypto? Because crypto is, I am a big fan of crypto and blockchain. I really am. But it introduces an extra layer of complexity and an extra level of risk. Like, why couldn't you just solve this with a traditional e-commerce type website marketplace, right? That alone would probably introduce a lot of efficiency into the marketplace and maybe make you a bunch of money. And then if you add crypto on top of that or blockchain, I can see why you'd want to do that. But it just makes it so much more complex. As an investor, what I hear is risky, right? Because you're going to try to do a whole bunch of things already, and the crypto blockchain layer makes it really cool and more efficient, but also makes it a lot harder to build and deploy. And that concerns me as an investor, right? So if blockchain is key to your approach, then I would be sure to explain why as quickly as possible. So looks like she froze. Unfortunately, we might have lost her. But I hope that was helpful to Niusha. And Niusha, if you're watching and you can tune back in later, you can catch all this on the replay. In fact, everybody can. If this is useful to you, you can go on YouTube and watch the replays. There's a whole bunch of them. And happy to have you comment and continue the conversations over there on YouTube as well. If there's something you see when you're watching this replay, you can post questions there, and we'll try to help you out also online in comments. Payush says, that's a pretty cool business. How do you onboard buyers and sellers? I see a lot of orders on the website. How are you still pre-revenue? Okay, that's a great question, right? I didn't have time to look at it, Payush, but you asked the question, so you went and found it, I guess. Yeah, it sounds like they've got something going on, but Niusha, you kind of got to be a little more specific. Kind of what I was saying to Daniel, right? Like, investors, we call this unit economics. This is just what I said to Daniel. Who's buying? How often? For how much? And let us know, because otherwise it's so vague we don't really understand what you're talking about. And especially in a $2.8 trillion market, it sounds like there's room for you. But the specifics are what we need. Cool. So that was Niusha from Dubai. And interesting to hear about that business, because somebody's going to do that and make a boatload. And I hope it's Niusha. And maybe she'll send some back to all of us. Okay, so who's next? About 9. Okay, so we got maybe another half hour here. If other folks, let me just buzz through the chat room here and see what if I've missed anything important as we've been talking. Let's see. A bunch of folks said hello, and let's see. So Chad and Ishi and Matar and Rachel and David and Steven, you're all here, I think, but you haven't said anything. So if you want to go ahead and chime in, you can use the chat room. And Joseph, I think you even wanted to pitch, but you didn't make it into Backstage. So we sent you the Backstage link. It should be in your inbox. And if not, we'll catch you next time, I guess. And let's see. And Shenzhou here in Orange County, and Akash, and Gaurav, and Lewis. Okay, Lewis. And let's see. Okay, nothing on fire here, it looks like. Yes. Payush and Lachlan. So yeah, next time you can pitch, but we're already going to be over time with the people we have. absolutely be happy to have you, but there's only so much time we have for this. And you need to do, when you sign up with the registration, there's a separate link that you can RSVP to get Backstage. And then you can submit. There's a form like this one that everybody I brought on camera there, you can see it better. But there's a form, and we need you to fill that out in advance, and I'd be happy to bring you on next month. Okay. We've got enough folks already tonight. Sorry to disappoint you, but we're going to stick with the folks we've got. And Steven said, what was the name of the sport again? I think it was Square Boss. Daniel, maybe you can put that in the chat room. And I think that's it. Okay, so let's go. Oh, let's try this one. What's Eileen says? Eileen says, what funding opportunities would you recommend for startup in the beauty or hair care industry? There you go, Ishi. Go ahead. Yeah, pitch next time. Excellent. Housematehive.com. That sounds like fun. So Eileen, this is a good one, actually. Looks like Niusha's back. Let me just repeat this for a second. Niusha, we lost you during the last part of my analysis of your pitch. So you froze, but I kept going, and then I realized you were frozen. But anyway, you can watch the replay of this later on YouTube, as all of you can, and then you can watch it at double speed if you get tired of hearing me talk. You can watch it on YouTube, and hopefully that was helpful to you. Nice to have you here, and I wish you the best of luck. So Eileen says, what funding opportunities would you recommend for the startup in the beauty and hair care industry? This is a great question, actually. That's why I popped it up here right away, because this is kind of like another one that somebody wrote in about. Yeah, I can't find it. But anyway, there's two tracks here, and this is something important for my new book that I should tell you guys. You should go get on the list if you want previews of my new book. We started a special newsletter list. Where is that? Here it is. How to raise startup. Yeah. So if you go to startupcouncil.org, there's a whole bunch of newsletters to choose from. And if you want excerpts from my new book, which talks about a lot of things that we talk about on this show, you can sign up for that newsletter, and I'll be sending you previews and special offers and that kind of stuff. Okay, so Eileen says, how to raise money for a beauty or hair care startup. And the point I want to make, and the reason I'm promoting this question, is that there are two kinds of ways to answer that. And beauty and hair care, and they suggest different paths for financing, okay? So the traditional beauty and hair care industry is, as you all know, is like a barber shop, a hair salon, a nail salon, maybe even a spa, right? With, different kinds of treatments and massages and stuff. So I don't know exactly what you mean, Aileen, but that kind of business can be a totally cool and profitable business. Absolutely. The trick is that those businesses are generally not venture capital fundable. Why? Because they're based on human output and services, and it's just really expensive, right? So if you're going to have, a hair salon that started with you and maybe a partner, and then you hire 30 more stylists, and then you hire 50 stylists and open 3 more salons, that's absolutely a good business, and you can make millions doing that. But venture capitalists are not going to be interested in that usually, because what we're looking for these days is mostly software or medical devices or something where you can make it once and then make a zillion more with very little additional cost. So it can scale really rapidly, right? So if you can figure out how to build an eBay or an Uber or a medical device that, cures cancer or something, and it may cost a whole bunch to set it up, but once it gets set up, and you have, say, 1,000 customers, to add another 1,000 customers costs almost nothing more. That's the scalability that venture investors are looking for these days. So if you add 1,000, you can add 10,000, right? And you might need to upgrade the systems a little, or spend some money on sales and marketing, or maybe get some more office space, whatever. But it's small and incremental relative to the profits that suddenly you have 100,000 customers for only maybe 5 or 10% more of the cost. That's just not going to happen in a traditional beauty business, at least as far as I know. I'm not an expert in that space, but that would be my opinion. Okay. So if you're looking, when you ask about money for a startup in the beauty and hair care industry, if it's a physical location that grows by hiring more people, then you need a bank loan, right? Or you need friends and family who are going to be satisfied with whatever they put in $100,000 and you turn it into $1 million. That is a totally legitimate way to do business. It's the way most of the world has worked for time immemorial, but it's not venture capital. Okay, so hopefully you got that. The other path that maybe you are talking about is raising money. And this is true for everybody that's listening, right? I'm not picking on Aileen or the beauty space, but any of you who have consulting businesses or agencies or dog walking or anything that requires you to hire a lot more people, whether those are people doing the services, like say in a beauty salon, or those are sales reps, who are out calling everybody or whatever. If it's people-based to grow, it is not going to scale inexpensively enough to attract investors like me. So the other path is, I'm hoping, Aileen, since you're here, we're talking about a software type scale. So maybe your beauty or hair care startup is about like a device, that, like I said, like a medical device to cure cancer. Well, maybe you have a device that is a consumer product that you could, if you can prove the prototype and get approved by the FDA or anybody that might need to regulate it, then the first one might cost a whole bunch of money to make the prototypes, but then you get it licensed, and then you can send it to a factory and make like 100,000 of them, get them into Walmarts all over the world. That is a scalable business. Then venture capitalists and angel investors like me are much more likely to be interested, because the key here is the scaling means that you can sell a lot more without hiring a lot more people. So I hope that's making some sense. And there are lots of ways to do that. It might be software, like it could be scheduling software for salons. That's awesome, right? Because if you can schedule 10 salons, you can probably schedule 100. You can probably schedule 100,000 if you scale the software. That's a venture capital type investment. But the hiring of more individual stylists cutting hair, not so much. So I hope that's helpful to everybody. Oh, okay. So Aileen chimes in. She has a hair serum, okay, which we want to sell online. Okay, that's a maybe. That's in between. Yeah, that could be. I'm working with a doctor right now, actually, who has a nasal spray, that kind of idea, right? So yes, that kind of thing can work. In the business of investing, we call that CPG, consumer packaged good. And so if you're looking for investors, you would want to be looking for CPG investors. And there are people who know that world. I'm not one of them. I'm more of a software guy. But if you want to manufacture a product like a hair serum, for example, and then get that out you could sell it online, or that you could get it out into beauty supply stores or back to Walmart or Target or whatever, depending on where you are in the world, of course. That kind of product can scale without hiring a ton more people. So yes, that might be interesting. And but CPG is probably the beauty CPG is probably the keywords that you want to look for. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see. Okay, Chad says, trying to take all this info in. We're currently working on starting up a makerspace. Oh, cool. I like makerspaces. No, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry, Chad. There we go. Here's Chad's. Sorry, I'm having too many. There we go. Okay. Makerspace, and trying to see what we need to have in place before reaching out. Yeah, that's why I do this, Chad. I hope that before reaching out to try to find funding. Yep, makes sense. Happy to have you here, and anybody that's looking for this kind of advice, that's what we do. And that's what we do at Startup Council all day long, right? So you can come and list your startup there, and it's only $20, I think. We're just trying to charge to cover the overhead, and we'll help you learn all this stuff and find investors and so on and so forth. So that's what we do. Okay, so let me get on to our next. So who do we still have backstage? Thank you for your patience backstage. Carl, Shaun, Daniel. Okay, Carl, Adrian. Okay, what's Adrian? How'd you get? Let's see. What did Adrian say? Yes, Adrian, you are. Yeah, Adrian, can you put in the private chat room back there what you'd like to talk about, and I will try to bring you on. Okay, and let's go to Carl. You still with me, Carl? You can turn on your camera, and let's do the pitch practice with you.
Hey, Scott.
Hey there. All
yeah,
right.
Hi there.
So where are you
Yeah.
in the world?
So, yeah, I'm here in the Philippines. I'm here in Manila.
Cool.
I'm in my lunch hour right now, so I'm bored, but I'm good. So, this is my first time to be here, and thanks for having me. I have a few questions here if I'm going to present this idea.
Uh-huh.
If first of all, do I really have a good product in my mind? And number two, what if I don't have the funds to create an MVP? How do I make a really impacting pitch for the VCs?
Yeah.
Number three, what are other groups that we could join alongside Startup Council so we can get more VCs? We could get to know more VCs and mentoring. And fourth, yeah, what are other platforms that you think we got to join so we can make a presence and talk about our costs? So my idea is this. I wanted to penetrate that travel booking app, just like Airbnb and so like Agoda, Trip.com, Expedia.com, those things, because there's this economy that I'm trying to tap for the lower income class. Like here in Asia, there's been an existence of these trip operations for a while. That's been more than 15 years. That could be less hassle for the customers. So this app offers a very packaged trips already for very undiscovered remote locations, something that could offer peace and quiet that's not offered by expensive popular locations. So something like if I come up with a trip for a weekend at a beach and would only cost somebody $60 for everything, like the tent, the transportation going there, the boats, the food, everything. It's
Wow.
just $60. Yeah.
Wow.
So I wanna tap that market because I've been joining these trips for more than 15 years in my life, and I've checked out Bokun, Get Your Guide, Viator, even Airbnb, and none of them are doing it.
Hmm.
There's a lot of undiscovered locations around here in Asia, even Europe, or maybe even there in the United States. And I don't know why these locations are not getting discovered.
Yeah.
And in a few years' time, what I can see is that an economic circumstances where there's going to be a lot more inflation rates that could happen every now and then. So
Uh-huh.
what's left? So what's going to be left for everybody to enjoy their lives and their family? Nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with something so that people wouldn't really need to break the bank
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
they go off on a trip.
Right. Right.
So
Okay. So what's
yeah.
that? I get it. That, and I agree. What question would you like to start with? Because we can't probably cover all of those together.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because number one, I don't have any funds for creating an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the MVPs here in the Philippines would need you to come up with one
Mm-hmm.
in order to make your pitch. And if I don't have any funds, I don't have any MVP, so I don't have any funds for that. How do I make a really impacting pitch
Yeah.
to make my cost really, really convincing?
Do you have any web design experience? Do you know how to build a website?
Yeah, I do have the skills to build a website, and right now I'm creating a database schema to get my app ready for Amazon Web Services. So I don't have to hire a team for that.
Great.
All I have to do is a team. All I need to have is a team that could build the MVP, and then when the MVP is ready, I could make that pitch, and maybe more VCs could really believe in this business.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Well, good for you. So you have a technical-ish background, which is super. It makes things a lot easier. So here's what I guess I would do. Because you're asking the right questions, right? And you found an opportunity. This sounds like a thing. So congratulations. You've been bitten by the startup bug, right? And it might kill you, but hopefully it'll work out better. So I think I would probably take a step back. A database schema sounds awesome, but if you're worried about an MVP, I think I would step back and just build a simple website like on Squarespace or Wix or something like that, because people don't have much imagination. Investors don't. So especially, and they might not even know what a database schema is, right? And I don't have your whole vision in my mind, right? But I think I got the general idea. What you're talking about is a site that showcases some trips, and then you probably build a mailing list, and maybe you have a blog that promotes them in a newsletter, and you try to sell some package tours. I mean, at least to start, right? Now, that may not be the full sum of your eventual vision, but if you start there, that would show, first of all, that you can do something and you have something to show. And that's a big question from investors like me, right? We're always like, people talk about stuff, but can you actually do anything? And you can get on Squarespace, at least in the States. I don't know what the pricing might be in the Philippines, but I think it's less than $100 a year. And so, it's not nothing, but it's certainly way less than you would trying to build something, that's truly database driven, right? So I think I would just start with that. And even if that's too much, maybe you could work in Canva or Figma or something like that and do some wireframe designs so that if you had to, it may not be live on your laptop, but you could show through a bunch of JPEGs and say, this is what it would look like if I had whatever your initial number is. If I had 20 grand, I could do this much, right? And then if I had $200,000, then we would do, obviously then you start moving up towards the database driven thing. But it seems to me at the moment, you're asking the right questions. How do you do an MVP? You got to work with what you got, right? So you got to prototype from the very basic level, even if it means that you build something that you're just going to throw away when you get to the next level, because otherwise you won't get to the next level, right? If the only way you can do this is by building the Taj Mahal, you're never going to get there, right? You got to take these manual, annoying baby steps. And, even if it means like when an order comes in, you write it down on a piece of paper and then you move it over into a spreadsheet, like you're doing that kind of physical work that of course a database could do way better, but you don't have the resources to build a full database, right? Because then that's very distracting and expensive, right? So anyway, that's the short answer to that is kind of fake it till you make it. That's the reality, right? That when you're an entrepreneur without resources, that's what you do. To ask to address your other question, since it sounds like you're on the right track here, I'd like to help. First of all, Amy in the chat room is asking what's your contact and where is this? So Carl said they're in Manila, but it sounds like some people would like do you have a website or a LinkedIn that you can share? It sounds like somebody wants to help you.
Yeah, sure. My name is, this is my name on LinkedIn. Actually, I already have Canva tools already. I already have some screens already. And I'm already building my schema so that when I'll just download my SQL codes, all that I have to do is just put them on Amazon Web Services and then automatically build a database. But for now, we'll start with Excel files for that.
Okay. I'm just going to copy what you put was in the Backstage chat. I'll put it in the main chat, and then I want to talk about platforms for a second. So, Amy, here's Carla. Is that on LinkedIn then?
Yeah, that's LinkedIn. MBA CLSS.
Yeah.
CLSS. Yeah, that's my name on LinkedIn. I could have misspelled that. I apologize. I misspelled my CLSSYB.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so let's talk about platforms. So you sound like a great candidate for an accelerator, an incubator, and I don't know the programs that they have there in Manila, but I think you could do some Googling and find there's got to be somebody interested, first of all, in travel, right? I mean, there should be, if there isn't, there should be, given all the great beaches in the Philippines, there should be some support for travel entrepreneurs. In the States, we have these programs called the Small Business Development Corporation and SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives. These are government-funded programs that do free consulting for people like you. So any Americans that are listening to this, I'll say that again, Service Corps of Retired Executives, SCORE, and SBDC, Small Business Development Corporation. Both of those are funded by your tax dollars here in the States, and they provide free consulting to people like Carl. I hope, but I don't know, Carl, if there are things that are equivalent to that in the Philippines. I would think so, but I don't know the Philippines very well. I've never been. It's on my list. I'm going to get over there soon. Maybe I've got $60 and I'll go on one of those trips. So I would look for that, and I would look for any other affinity groups that you have. It looks like you have some education, like the university where you went, or alumni networks. Look at the business school, and the real answer to your platform question is, and finding investors, and this is true for Leo and other people too, you just got to get out there and meet people. You can come online, and we will do as best we can at startupcouncil.org, like I said, and I should put up this other service that we have called startupinvestorsdirectory.com. So the number one question I always get on this show is, how do I find startup investors? So we built this, startupinvestorsdirectory.com, very creative name, and that's got 3,000 early stage investors, and you can search on all kinds of things, any kind of industry or stage or personal characteristics, like if you're Black or Asian or Latino, or you're rural, or you're an immigrant, or you're LGBTQ, or you're a first-time founder. Like, we've tried to figure out all the parameters. So I don't think you're quite ready for that, Carl, but you made me think of it, so sharing it. So what I would do is find the meetups in Manila, go to the university, find the government resources, and then go to as much stuff as you can. And then, of course, the other level is, what can you do online? Because they may not be in Manila, they might be in San Francisco, right? And you can attend things virtually like you're doing right now, right? I'm in California, you're in the Philippines. That works out because it's night for me, it's morning for you, and that's fine, right? And we could be best friends if we did this repeatedly. So I would really spend some time looking for that. And of course, we also address that need on startupcouncil.org. We have what I think is the only calendar in the world that is only virtual events, only for founders. So if you are in Manila or Mumbai or Montreal, you can find events that are specifically for you, so that you can attend from Miami or from anywhere. And I think we have the only calendar in the world that does that. So even if you don't join startupcouncil.org, you guys should come and get on the newsletters, because then we'll send you stuff that you can attend. And that's a great way to meet investors too. So that was a long answer. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll be joining about these groups, finding more people online. So yeah, hope to meet more of you guys. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us. Cool. All right. So this is fun. It's all right. We're getting near the end here, I think. Here's Aileen again. One more quick question. What did she say? Join us. How do I put that on the screen? Because it's a good question. Oh, no, hold on. Let me see who's waiting here. Oh, Shaun. Is Shaun, are you still here? Sorry, I was going to let me take that other question from you. There we go. Hey, Shaun. You wanted to talk about, I think that first question you gave me was a softball, but you were actually more interested in the second one?
No, not necessarily. I think it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just what's your opinion of some of these founder, assisters, accelerators, these guys that are, saying that they're going to prepare you to get funded and charging $200, $300, $400 a month, those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I have a lot of opinions, but it depends a lot on the platform. Buyer beware. I don't think finding a coach or a mentor or an accelerator or an incubator or a training program is honestly any different than hiring a plumber. You should check references, make sure that they understand the kind of plumbing you have in your house, and the quality varies a lot. So these days, especially, like I was just saying in that other conversation, anybody can reach anybody online, right? And you don't know who's going to show up, especially. So if you pay a lot of money, I would definitely check the references first. To be a little more specific, there are some big brands in the space, Techstars or Founder Institute, or any number of others that I am a fan of. Startup Grind, Startup Council, mine as well. A lot of us are trying to do this with the right intentions. What I would be really careful of is anybody that charges a lot of money. So and this is true whether you're going to go pitch something or sign up for a training program or anything, people like us, we really do have expenses, right? So I think those that can offer them for free is awesome. But that means they're making money somewhere else, or they're just rich, or they have, foundations or donations behind them, and that's fine. That's great. But I think that our philosophy is we charge a cost to try to make everything sustainable. So $20 here, $100 there, even $500 here and there, I think is legit, depending on what you get for it. Like if you're going to a pitch competition at a fancy hotel, with really good food and all kinds of stuff, and you get on stage, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes, yeah, it's going to cost $500, $1,000, because they're paying out $50,000, right, to rent that room and get all the lights and the everything set up. So, yeah. But you got to really be careful who's in the room. Are they active investors, or is it just their friends? Blah, blah, blah. So due diligence, that's a long way of saying due diligence. Certain platforms like Gust or Startup Steroid, or some of the things we do, I think are great. I mean, they can help you get where you need to go faster. But I would, in every case, try the free version, look around, test it out. If I were a founder, anything more than, I mean, everybody's got a different threshold, I guess, right? But anything more than, I don't know, a couple $100 a month is sounding like it's expensive, So anybody that won't give you, if it's any real numbers, like $1,000 or more, and I would ask for references, who's done this and who likes it, and if they can't give you references, I would run away. So, I don't know. Is that, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that, there's a lot of, just a lot of sales about it too. I think, that people are, to me, kind of selling a dream. Like, if you do this thing, you're going to have an increased chance. And maybe, but maybe not.
That's right.
And we got seed without joining any of it. So
right.
I think a lot of it, it's interesting. A lot of it has to do with the person, right? A lot of it has to do with the personal relationship. The people who invested in us, we really hit it off, and they believed in us, and it was good. It was a good sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Which is so much of it, in a frustrating way. So.
In a frustrating way. That's right. Exactly. That's why I'm writing this new book, is because I think the number one problem in the startup ecosystem is the amount of time that is wasted by earnest, talented people like you trying to find the right version of me for your project. It's just crazy with all the tech we have. And we've had Match.com for 25 years, right? Matching people. And we don't have, anyway, I think it's, so anyway, that's what my new book is about, trying to help people figure this out a little faster. Another couple just thoughts before I let you go. You're right to talk about the individuals, because the partners involved, this is true at any VC firm. You want this more senior person, but also the one who's not so senior, they won't have time to deal with you, right? So you want to find the person who's going to engage. And that's true at incubators and accelerators as well. So if you feel like you're 1 in 1,000, then that's probably not the right place, unless that's what you're looking for, right? If you just want something light touch, then that's fine. But if you really want to bear down and really participate, then you probably want something more personal, especially for those programs that take a chunk of your equity. And in exchange, usually for some cash, it's usually, a couple $100,000 for 6 or 8% of your equity or something like that. Well, that implies a valuation immediately on the company of a couple million, not more than a couple $1 million. So if you've already put 3 or 4 years into this and a whole bunch of your own money, then you probably can't afford to join an incubator or an accelerator, because it's going to crush your valuation. And it's hard to go back, say, to your friends and family and say, remember that money you put in and we were valued at $5 million? Well, now we're only valued at 1.4, but we got into Techstars.
Yeah.
Right? Which, it still may be a good trade, but it's an awkward conversation. The other thing I was going to say is, I worked with an incubator that has since gone out of business. And one of the things that they did to, this is a due diligence point for anybody that's interested in incubators and accelerators. They would bring people in, and these were good people. They weren't trying to fool anybody. But it ended up being a little bit bait and switch, because they would bring people in, founders, I mean, and say, come and join us. And they had a certain amount of money for this and that. And it was all, whatever. It was all very explained. But the part of their pitch was that we have this huge list of investors. Not in the camera. Yeah, here we go. Huge list of investors. And it was like columns and columns, like, I don't know, 200 or 300 names of these are all the kind of firms that we work with. So as a new founder, you walk in, you see this, and they literally had it on the walls, like, wow, everybody from American Express down to whatever Z would be, like piles and piles of them. And I ended up being on an advisory committee or judging one of their pitch competitions or something. And so I asked, how many of these are active? And it was like this many. Right. So they were listing everything, and they'd been around for 15 years or something. So they were basically listing every investor they'd ever met, not every investor that was currently writing checks in their program. And so it wasn't a lie, but it certainly wasn't the whole story. And I would be careful of that kind of thing. So that's an example of checking references again.
Yeah. I'll just make one comment. PitchBook, I'd bring it up again, and not that I'm trying to sell them or anything else, but they're just an awesome resource from my perspective. They have dry powder numbers, so you can look at which VCs are actually actively looking for people, not just
right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Here's a platform. I'm just put that in the chat. Startup Steroid. This is a company that I'm actually, to be full disclosure, I'm an advisor and an investor in, and they are building kind of even the next step beyond what we've built at startupcouncil.org. They're building an ecosystem where you come in as a founder and they have a bunch of services. For example, they have like a FICO score, like you can upload your deck and they'll AI examine it and say, oh, you need to work on this and that. Some very useful stuff. And anybody that's interested in these kind of platforms, I would suggest that Startup Steroid might be something worth checking out.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, great. Well, nice to see you again. Thanks for joining us again,
Yeah.
Shaun. He's a repeat. I must have said something moderately helpful last time because he returned. So that's always a good sign. All right. So what do we got left here? Okay. I don't see anybody else with their cameras on Backstage. So let's cruise through the chat room and then we'll wrap it up for tonight. Okay. Okay. Leo, there you go. You're back. Did you want to join us? What's on your mind now that you've got a sense for how the show works?
Yeah, I was just like doing laundry and doing some, but yeah, I know it's telling me everyone can see and hear you, but I don't know what's the, I don't think, because my mic was muted, but.
Okay. Did you have a question?
No, well, yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah. I know because actually he brought the pitch book because I remember interviewing for them. They're based in Seattle, and sign up for them because that's a good, gives you the the companies that haven't started. I mean, what do you have to lose? Just reach out to people and come, And I know it's hard to start by yourself. You need a lot of people. It's to share the risk. Even if you start at the most easiest company, like a fitness center, or something, or like a hair salon. But it's depends.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Well, that's why we do this, trying to.
I know, and it's just like the only thing that put me down, and feet on the ground is like there are so many other people like me, that have more power, more money, more, they're more pretty, more, they're 6'4". I'm just saying they have more network and they have more money, but probably don't have the courage or the thing that's a risky business or it's hard. It's not, if you share, for example, my thought with someone said, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Do you need to go see a doctor? Or, there are other, you need to talk to someone that's in that avenue and have so much experience and, and they will tell you the good, the bad, and everything between, that are like, because even if you have ton of money, still you need to know how to allocate and be profitable, because what's the point, just having a business, even if you do for passion, you're just being, for it's your, love for something, because if you don't like something, it's pointless for you just to jump in,
Well, that's right. And I think you're on the right track there about community, because that's really what most founders think, that they need capital the most, and they usually do. But what they really need is friends and supporters who understand them.
Correct.
They support each other. That's why we do. That's why I do this kind of thing, because I really hope everybody in the chat room can meet each other.
Yeah, thank you. I know, because you have to have product. I'm just gonna bring a real quick. Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, he'll sell a product without having the product. He would just start getting. Back in the day it was different, and he will go name this software 2.0 or 3.0 when even the 1.0 didn't come out yet. He was just like doing the marketing, or he would just go tell Bank of America, hey, I have 15 employees. There were just 4 of them that started the Oracle company. I remember watching a YouTube video years ago, how he, but he was like very, he was like very, I know he's 80 something now, but it's like, that's how he was like.
Yeah. All right. Well, nice seeing you tonight. We're going to just head back to the chat room, and I think we'll wrap this up. I put a couple new links up on the screen. If you're having meetups in your town, like Leo just said, we try to encourage community, and we have meetups in, I think, 51 cities around the world, and 19 or 20 countries, including Manila, for example, Carl. And there's a lot of opportunity there to, we'll help you publicize things. If you're building communities in your local region. Happy to have you submit your events, and we'll post them in our meetups, and then hopefully bring you more founders and build a community where you are, and doing that all over the world. And let's see what else. All right, well, let's go look at these other chats. So, okay, so, all right, so LinkedIn user says, oh, here's the best quote of the night. LinkedIn user loves the Startup Office Hours. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Dr. Sanjay posted a whole bunch of stuff there. Okay, that's a really long SIG file. So Sanjay, let's see. I think we're gonna well, I don't have a way to delete that easily, but please don't do that because it jams up the chat. Okay, I thought another question here. Mona, I'm gonna get to you in a second, but I did that. Oh, Kickstarter campaigns, that's what it was. All right, and then Mona, I'll get to you. So Aileen says, one more question. What do you think about Kickstarter campaigns? So Kickstarter, I'm sure you guys know, but it's a kind of funding mechanism, crowdfunding they call it. And crowdfunding it can be great. Crowdfunding can raise a lot of money for interests that are important to groups that might be geographically dispersed, but are passionate about. So, whether it's collectibles or hair serum or anything, right? Really. And so Kickstarter is great. What Kickstarter is not is equity crowdfunding. So what Kickstarter, I think anyway, somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the chat room here, but I think Kickstarter is like gift crowdfunding in the sense of like, you say, I'm going to make this thing and everybody can contribute, and then maybe they get a discount or something, but they don't actually own a part of the product or the company. Equity crowdfunding is what I know more about. So that might have been off, but that's kind of the vibe. Equity crowdfunding is platforms like Start Engine or WeFunder or Dealmaker or Net Capital, people like that. And with those platforms, Title III funds, where you go and you list your company and say, we're going to build this kind of thing. And if you put in some money, you'll actually own shares in the company. It's equity. And then you end up owning a piece of that company. So if the company does well, eventually, hopefully your stock is worth a bunch more than you paid for it, right? So, okay, so those are the two types of crowdfunding. It's like the kind of charity giving side and then the equity side. What both do that is not appreciated often by entrepreneurs is they require you to do the marketing. So those platforms can be super in terms of helping you structure and present and collect your offer and collect money from the public and then issue them their shares in the case of equity crowdfunding, or connect them to whatever resources or prizes or discounts you might be offering. They're great for all that stuff. What they don't guarantee, though, is that you have an audience or that anybody will invest or buy. My point is that if you're going to use crowdfunding, whether it's Kickstarter or WeFunder or anything else, you're going to need to bring your own audience. So they are not there to to make all the sales for you, right? So if you're going to succeed in crowdfunding, you need to come and use them as a platform to set up and automate the offer, but you need to bring your own mailing list of fans who are already interested and market to them to come and then visit that crowdfunding platform and use the crowdfunding platform to buy your product or buy into your company, right? So if you don't have an audience already, they're not going to provide it. Now, of course, there are lots of services and agencies and so forth that can help you do that, but then you're going to end up spending a bunch of money on not only the fees of setting up the offer properly and like having a slick video and stuff, to push it, but then you're going to spend a bunch of money on an agency as well. So you're probably talking about something that sounded inexpensive, quickly adding up to tens of thousands of dollars and maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it well. So I'm a big fan of those platforms. I'm literally an investor in several of them. I believe in that model, but you just need to know how they work. Right? It really is about bringing your own audience. So if you don't have that yet, I would get back to working on that and then go to the Kickstarter sort of route once you're ready. Okay. So I hope that's useful. Hey, Pete Vahid, thank you for identifying yourself. Let's see. And Shaun says, yeah, search. This is, I think this is a suggestion here. This is an answer. Where is it? There we go. Yeah, try Googling Reg CF platforms, crowdfunding platforms. That's right. Search on this and go Kickstarter or any of those. He put it very succinctly, is only good for selling into your existing network. So if you don't have an existing network, they are legit and useful platforms, but will not be useful to you unless you already have an audience to sell to. Okay. And then I think we're going to wrap up here. This looks like our last question. Yep. Okay. What's the best way to show traction? Mona wants to know, for a high-tech skincare startup that still needs funding to reach the market. So showing traction is a challenge. It's a challenge in any business. And that's I'm not trying to keep pushing my book because it's not even for sale yet, but that's another piece of my book, right? I'm trying to give a bunch of ideas about how to show traction when you don't have any traction, right? Or you don't have the money to do an MVP like Carl was talking about, and get the thing out there. Like, how do you do this? And the answer is, and this isn't just for skincare startup, this is for anybody, any startup, any of you that are listening, either now or in the replays. And by the way, if this is useful, please do like and comment. It makes a difference in terms of how many other people see this, and I'm doing this to try to help. So really would appreciate your likes and comments in whatever platform you're watching. Especially on YouTube, though. Actually, that seems to drive the most. So if you're on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe and so forth. But the answer is, how do you show traction when you have no traction? How do you show traction when you have no MVP? How do you show traction when you haven't raised any money and you can't create an MVP to show some traction? It's a chicken and egg problem that everybody suffers through. And the answer, simply put, is kind of what I said earlier. You have to do it anyway, right? You have got to find... They talk about a minimum viable product, MVP. What's your minimum viable traction? MVT. I just made that up. I'm going to write it down. Maybe I'll put it in my book. What's the least you can do to show something, right? Because what investors are looking for is, we don't invest in dots. We invest in lines. So what I mean by that is, if I meet you once and you tell me this great story and about what you're doing, it may sound amazing, but I only met you once. So I'm not necessarily going to believe you because I don't know you. I don't maybe like you. I don't know your industry, whatever, I need to see you again and again and again. So I have several dots, and hopefully each of those interactions is positive and is trending upwards. I should go this way for you guys, right? Trending upwards, so that I'm not investing in any of those dots, but there's a line, there's a trend line. And that's what we investors are always looking for. We want to be on a trend line that's going up, so that we can make a bunch of money. That's our job. So you need to show some points that start to make a line, right? So what can you do? You have a high-tech skincare startup. Okay, who cares? I mean, literally, who cares? Who have you talked to? Have you talked to 10 customers? Have 7 of them been interested? How about if you talk to 100 customers? How about 70 of them are interested? That's even more interesting, right? What if you talk to 1,000 people and 700 of them are interested enough? And they're not just interested, but they would actually buy. That's starting to sound like traction, right? You haven't sold anything. You don't even have the product, but at least you have shown us that you've done some legwork, that you're serious about this. And apparently people are interested. And that's the key thing, right? Because there's nothing worse than an entrepreneur who loves their own product that nobody else cares about, right? You can have all the supply in the world, but without demand, you'll go broke. And I don't want you going broke with my money, right? Why would I do that? So you need to find ways to show traction. So let me keep going, right? So you talk to a bunch of people and note their reactions. How about you buy some ads on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, and you run some ads for your fictional product? Right? Get an AI or somebody to mock up a picture of what it would look like, or a discussion about what the benefits are, and say, we spent $100 on these ads and we got whatever it is, I don't know, 83 expressions of interest. And then work on it a little more. 83%, that's pretty good. Okay. But if we priced it at $10.99, we got way more interest than we did at $29.99. Now, that's not a surprise, but those are the kind of numbers that we investors want to see. Give me a bunch of numbers so I can evaluate the potential of this opportunity, and also show me that you understand what I need, which is numbers. I'm an investor. I eat numbers. You don't give me numbers, I starve, right? So what are ways that you can find numbers? You put out an offer and you have 1,000 people sign up for your mailing list. Okay, that's good. Now send out an email to them that says something, that shows more traction, right? And a price survey or offer a prize or anything you can do. Shaun says, how about pre-orders or a wish list? Yeah, exactly. Pre-orders would be great, right? So the next step is, say you've got 1,000 people and 756 of them are interested. Well, how many of them can you get to actually sign something? And if this works from a business to business too, because you haven't said, but Mona, maybe you're a B2B company, right? So instead of selling 756 different bottles of your thing, maybe you're going to sell, these are B2B contacts, so you could sell 756 cases to distributors or to retail shops. That's interesting, right? Because 756 times whole caseloads is a bigger number than 756 individual sales. Right. So you get the idea here, right? Or you start a Facebook group and say, well, we grew from 0 to 10,000 members or a X account or a TikTok or Instagram, right? Like how many likes do you get on your stuff? Like anywhere that you can find stuff that has numbers is demonstration of traction. Obviously, real sales with real products at high price points and fat margins are what we really want to see. But what can you do between now and then? It's like I said earlier about the Taj Mahal. You can't build the Taj Mahal from the top down. You got to start at the bottom, right? So what are the bricks that you can make that tell those stories that are the little points that connect into a line so that every time I hear from you, it's creeping up, right? Your trend is creeping up. Beep, 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 beep. That's what's going to get me interested. And that is what can lead to a story that you can tell first, probably to friends and family, of why you need 10 grand from them. And then maybe $50,000 and then $100,000. And once you get past that, well, then it's probably time to talk to an angel group, and the angels will put in 20 grand or 50 grand a piece or $100,000 each. And you cobble together 300,000 or 400 or $500,000. And that gives you enough to actually do something and demonstrate some more traction, right? It's step by step by step. It's a very steep and long ladder, but climbing rung by rung is the only way you can do it. Okay. So, sorry, one more question here. I thought I was done. My MVP, this is related, so we'll just, this will be our last one. I think this is Pete again. My MVP is almost ready. How to get investors who can market fund and help me building a team. So, okay, so Pete, I think if this is Pete, I think, let me blow up your paradigm a little bit. Investors aren't interested in marketing, funding, or helping you build a team. That's not what we do, at least venture investors. What we do is, if you have already demonstrated an ability to market and maybe already have a team, we might fund you to expand on that. Okay, so I'm splitting hairs here, but it's an important mindset shift. Investors are really only here these days. I mean, it depends a lot on what market you're in. And I'm sorry, we don't have time to get into it tonight, but I'm mostly a software guy. So if this is software, I'm on more solid ground than I am in consumer goods or med tech or something. Okay, so take this with a grain of salt. But in the software space, even an MVP isn't enough anymore. It's just way too easy to make one. You need to get out there and actually have some customer relationships. And Shaun suggested of pre-orders or some kind of memorandum of understanding or letter of intent. You can call it a lot of different things. A purchase order is even better. Of actual customers is really what you need to get funding these days. Now, you might be able to demonstrate enough traction, review the stuff I was just talking about, connecting some dots of traction so you can get some money from friends and family so that you can get that MVP rolling, and then money can come in a lot faster. And if you're in certain markets, like in the Bay Area, you can raise a lot of money with less, especially if you're connected or have a track record. But if you're in a rural area or another country where there are not very developed risk capital markets, it's going to be really hard. So basically, the more it looks like a business, the more you can raise money. So if you don't have an MVP, it's going to be hard. And you need to find the people who are already interested in that market or have had some success there. This is the other part of my new book, like how to do the research to find people that are sympathetic. I can offer that. Oh, this is not Pete. Okay. Another LinkedIn user. Okay. Sorry. Let me just put up that other caption for a second. The Startup Investors Directory. We built this for this kind of question. Yeah, and there's a deal. It's like half price right now, because we're trying to get it rolling and help you guys. But it did take a lot of money to build, so it's not free, right? I think it's $99 or something, right? So, but it's not, to Shaun's point, it's not $1,000. It's not PitchBook. It's not $12,000 like PitchBook could cost, right? It's 99. I think it's $99 or something like that. Anyway, okay. So anyway, investors are really looking for things that are already proven. Why? Because we can. Why wouldn't we, right? Why would we take all the risk that you are taking and lose our money? Right? This is you're the one that's going to get rich. We might just make, triple our money if things go well, but 9 times out of 10, that money just disappears. So it's a fiction that investors are looking for seed stage ideas or pre-seed ideas. It just really doesn't exist anymore, to be honest, at least in software, right? Or unless you're a super connected founder in the Bay Area who, happens to have a PhD in artificial intelligence from Stanford. So I would adjust your thinking a little bit and think about how you can demonstrate traction in the kind of pseudo ways that we're talking about. Feed that into an MVP and use the MVP again, kind of like I talked about with Carl. Don't try to build something super fancy and that's all a real thing. If you can fake it with and I'm saying fake in an ethical way. I'm saying demonstrate it using just a website or just a prototype and get traction in the sense of like purchase orders and things like that, and then you can ladder up step by step. Okay, so anyway, sorry, I hope that was useful. That's the reality, and you don't hear it a lot, so I'm here to tell you. Baby steps. Thank you, Bebs. That's what I meant. Baby steps. Yeah, you guys always, I talk for 10 minutes and then you guys summarize it in 10 words. You're like AI, right? You can just summarize it for me, so thank you. Okay, so I think that's about it for me tonight. Thank you all for being here. Please do like and subscribe. Tell your friends for next time. Go to the Startup Council. Let me put that up there. Go to startupcouncil.org, or actually it's right here over my shoulder anyway. You should get on these email lists. They're free. We'll try to have you connect with us again. And I'll be, if you are looking for a speaker in your town, please let me know. I speak all over the world all the time and love engaging with people like you. So I hope this is helpful. You are the future. Together, we're going to make some stuff happen. And I appreciate you being here. Thanks. And I hope to see you again next time. Go join those newsletters and like and subscribe. Thanks again. Good night.